What's up everyone on the internet? Thank you for making this video party. I'm so excited to upload this one for you guys because for this video we'll be taking a look at the latest installment in the Transformers franchise that was released just a few days ago on Netflix, and that is Transformers War for Cybertron Chapter 1 Siege. So apparently War for Cybertron is going to be broken up into 3 parts, in which Chapter 1 has a total of 6 episodes, where we follow the Autobots on their last line of defense, while the Decepticons are moving in to finish them off. And right from the get-go, the show is set right near the end of the war, because looking at the Autobots, they're only down to a handful of them. Meanwhile, the Decepticons have a full army and air force controlling the planet. By the way, I've always liked the Decepticons more. But while you have these two factions going to war with each other, you also get to see some middle ground, and Bumblebee shows the audience that perspective. If I'm going to be honest, I was actually a bit surprised they took this route for Bumblebee, because when we first meet him in the show, he's not the bee that we know, in which he's everyone's best friend. But in War for Cybertron, Bumblebee is seen as a scavenger who's just trying to stay away from choosing a side in this war, because he knows at this point the Autobots are losing, but he doesn't like how the Decepticons are running Cybertron. Eventually we do get to see him join the Autobots, but the way his character development plays out, it seems like Bumblebee was actually forced to join the Autobots. But anyway, we do get to see Optimus Prime, and I know I'm not the only one thinking this, but man, do I wish that they would have gotten Peter Cullen to voice Optimus Prime. Oh well, it is what it is. Throughout this first chapter, we do get to see Optimus struggle with leading the Autobots, because at this point, they're losing the war, and some of them are actually beginning to doubt Optimus. So while Optimus is struggling to save the last of the Autobots, Megatron, on the other hand, is doing whatever he can to end this war quickly. And for me, this show did a really good job in showing this war from Megatron's perspective, because for as long as I can remember, in every Transformers show, Megatron has been portrayed as this big hulking villain, which he is, by the way, but he's always been this one-sided character that everyone hates, because everyone's rooting for Optimus. But in War for Cybertron, there's more to Megatron than meets the eye. For starters, Chapter 1 gives us hints that Megatron was once a gladiator who fought for equal rights between the Autobots and the Decepticons, because before the war, the Autobots were these high-class citizens, while the Decepticons were low-class workers. And while he tried to make a difference for his Decepticons, he soon went down a dark path and became a tyrant. It's like if you watch Gladiator and Maximus uses all his gladiators and soldiers to enslave Rome. And as the war went on, Megatron saw how it was destroying Cybertron and was willing to call a truce with Optimus if the Autobots surrendered to the Decepticons. But you know Megatron, you can't really trust him. Speaking of trust, that aspect plays a huge part in some of the side character development, as we see several Autobots and Decepticons begin to question their leaders. While some Autobots go behind Optimus's back, a couple of Decepticons begin to question Megatron's decisions on how to end the war. And I love how we get to see that even though there are two sides of this war, there are characters on both sides that oppose their beliefs that they once held high. Speaking of side characters, I really enjoyed watching Shockwave and Soundwave on screen. For me, Shockwave will always be the true second in command of the Decepticons, and I love the fact that he's also Megatron's top scientist. And for Soundwave, I love how this character has an auto-tune voice and can pop cassette tapes out of his chest and transform into little minions. With that being said, I will say that there are a few times where it is a bit hard to understand Soundwave's voice, and it came to the point where you actually need subtitles to fully understand him. But other than that, I really love how Megatron really relies on those two Decepticons for when it comes to dealing with Autobots. It just adds more character to Megatron, because while Shockwave's methods of interrogation and experimentation on Autobots are ruthless, Megatron knows that in order to win the war, he's got to be more ruthless. And with Soundwave being his eyes and ears, Megatron is able to keep tabs on almost everyone on Cybertron, and with that power, it's impossible for him to give up. So yeah, for this first chapter, I would say Megatron is the one character that stands out the most, because this show gives us a whole new perspective on how this conflict is seen through this character's point of view. Now overall, I really enjoyed War for Cybertron, and with only 6 episodes in this first chapter, it's pretty easy to binge through. I just hope Netflix releases Chapter 2 as soon as possible, because looking back at how the first chapter ends, I'm really curious to see as to what's going to happen to the remaining Autobots that we saw at the end of the finale. Well, that's going to do it for this video, guys. That was my overall review for Chapter 1 of Transformers War for Cybertron. If you like what you saw, click on the subscribe button so you can always update from this channel. I'll see you all next time with a brand new video. Bye-bye.